Welcome to the Ducks Unlimited podcast, the only podcast about all things waterfowl. From hunting insights to science-based discussions about ducks, geese, and issues affecting waterfowl and wetlands conservation in North America, we bring the resource to you. The DU Podcast with your host, Chris Jennings.
What we've got is a bonus episode today, a migration hunting habitat update from the South Atlantic Field Office. Today we've got the Director of Conservation Programs for the South Atlantic, Jamie Rader. Jamie, welcome to the show.
Thanks. How are you today?
Doing excellent. I know down in the Southeast, waterfowl seasons are well underway, or some of them may be split a little bit, something like that, but we're just going to try and provide a quick little habitat update for people. Let's start out kind of at the north tip of your region in the Chesapeake Bay. What are you hearing around there, kind of Chesapeake Bay, Back Bay area? I know those are all very important for public waterfowl hunters especially.
Yeah, absolutely. We had a good opportunity today to catch up with some of our development officers that are there on the north end of the Chesapeake Bay, as well as a couple board members that have been zipping around. Seems like that the weather has been turning a little bit, starting to see more geese push into the north part of the Chesapeake Bay, and hearing that they're seeing more and more divers kind of move into the Back Bay area as well. So really early in the season, but seeing the weather change and starting to see birds move around.
Absolutely, yeah. We're kind of watching that weather forecast and on the Atlantic coast as well, kind of that North Atlantic. It seems to be getting a little bit of snow and, really getting a real wintry mix. And I know that the hunters in the Southeast are happy to see that, if nothing else. What about North Carolina? Some of the major areas there, maybe some of the like Pamlico Sound and even Mattamuskeet. Are you hearing any good reports out of there, or at least what the habitat looks like?
Yeah, one of our board members from North Carolina seems like he was hunting up near the Mackay Island areas and hearing that the refuge manager is saying that they're seeing more birds than they've seen in a long time, starting to move into those areas. Still a lot of teal held up in some of the Mattamuskeet areas, but starting to see a little bit more diversity of divers and dabblers moving in the area. So probably, again, as a product of that northern system that you alluded to, but seeing numbers starting to build definitely in some of those major waterfowl areas.
Awesome. I know you guys had some significant water kind of early in the spring, early in the summer maybe, but it seems like the habitat's kind of leveled out there. Am I pretty safe to say that North Carolina, South Carolina, the habitat has, or the water levels, I should say, has kind of leveled out and given you guys some opportunities to either, work in habitat or even, maybe some hunters are seeing some of the more traditional areas come back into play? Yeah,
absolutely. We did have a really dry summer here in the low country of South Carolina, so we did see some kind of hit and miss early on about what those habitat conditions were going to be, and then after seeing Hurricane Dorian come and go and fortunately being able to restabilize some of the coastal impoundments, starting to see some of those submergent aquatics come back to the surface and people get a better handle on it. We are seeing some really good habitat conditions. We've seen a lot of big tides the last few weeks with some of that northern push that are affecting some of the habitats, but overall habitat conditions look really good for when the birds start pushing into the area.
Awesome. That's great news. And then kind of the last little spot, I have some good buddies of mine that hunt down in South Florida and even a little bit in Central Florida. Are you hearing any reports out of there? I know they kicked their season off, and I know if you guys were doing pretty well. Are you hearing any reports from Florida?
Yeah, not hearing a whole lot from Florida. I know there's still has been a significant number of the whistling ducks are still around. People are picking up model ducks, but it seems like a lot of the concentration of the birds have still been held up in kind of that North Carolina, South Carolina area. So I think those guys are just very opportunistically still taking advantage of a lot of those early migrants, seeing a lot of blue wings still holding in some of the big STAs.
Yeah, that's awesome. That's a unique opportunity down there to be able to get on even some of the late season blue wings that are in full plumage. That's a cool opportunity for someone looking for a different style of hunt down there in Florida and even far South Florida.
Absolutely.
Well, Jamie, I appreciate you joining us and providing this little update. Hope it's beneficial, and it sounds like it's early in the season pretty much everywhere, but it sounds like the weather's cooperating a little bit up north, and hunters just need to kind of play the patient card for right now.
Yeah, that patient card comes out a lot, but we're really hopeful with some of the weather we're actually seeing here in early December that hopefully there's a lot of season still to go, and we'll see a lot of birds move into those areas.
All right, I appreciate it, Jamie. Thanks a lot.
Thanks a lot. Have a good one.
I'd like to give a special thanks to Jamie Rader, the Director of Conservation Programs for the South Atlantic out of the Ducks Unlimited Charleston office. Thanks for joining me. And also I'd like to thank you, the listener, for joining us for the Ducks Unlimited podcast and supporting wetlands conservation.
Thank you for listening to this episode of the DU Podcast. Be sure to rate, review, and subscribe to the show and visit www.ducks.org/DU Podcast for resources based on today's topics, as well as access to more episodes. Opinions expressed by guests do not necessarily reflect those of Ducks Unlimited. Until next time, stay tuned to the Ducks.